Hi, Teri here from Stamping Magic. Welcome back to my channel. Today's project is this very pretty card. I've used the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set together with paper from the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper pack. I've also used the Seaside Seashells dies and the Seashells 3D embossing folder. My card is a case of one in the January to June 2021 mini catalogue, and you can find it on page 40. I haven't made an exact copy of this card. For one, I've changed the main colour from pink to blue, and also because of the main technique used, you will never get an exact replica. Each version will be slightly different. These are all the measurements you need for all the elements required to create this project. So if you're interested in reproducing it, take a screenshot so you can refer to it later. These are the Seaside Seashells dies. Now you get various outline dies, but you also get this large die that creates a full panel. Now I'm going to use some normal weight Whisper White card to cut this, and this is 1/4 of a standard sheet of card. The die cuts cleanly with one pass of your die cutting machine. There might just be one or two tiny little pieces that need to be popped out. I'm now going to emboss this die cut panel using the Seashells 3D embossing folder. Now this folder matches the die cut exactly, so just take a few seconds to line it up perfectly and then run it through your die cutting and embossing machine. Once it's done, just ease the die cut back out from the embossing folder, and then you can see this absolutely stunning embossing that it's added. I'm now going to add some colour to the die cut, and I'm going to use Pear Pizzazz, So Saffron, Blushing Bride and Sahara Sand inks. I'm going to apply the colour using some of our sponge daubers, and I've got a separate dauber for each of the colours. The sponge daubers slot on the end of your index finger. Now I've picked up some ink and I'm going to apply this to 2 of the shells, and I'm just using very light pressure to do this. The harder you press, the more ink and the darker the colour. Then I'm using Blushing Bride and I'm going to colour 2 of the remaining shells. Finally, I'm going to use Sahara Sand to colour the last shell. And this time, this is how I'm going to leave my shells. With my original card, I did something a little different. I coloured them as I've just shown you, but then I added the other 2 colours to each of the shells as well, so you get a mix for each one. And although I love how that looks, I wanted something even more subtle this time. Finally, I'm going to add some Pear Pizzazz ink to all of the seaweeds. There's 2 different types and I want 2 different tones of the green ink. For the more smoother seaweed, I'm applying very light pressure to give me a very pale tone, but on the more leafy one, I'm pressing a little harder, so this will give me a darker tone. This is the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set, and I'm using this sentiment today, and then I'm using several of the shells for the inside of the card. I'm using Seaside Spray ink to stamp the sentiment onto a scrap of normal weight Whisper White card. And I'm going to punch this out using the Everyday Label Punch. My inside panel is again normal weight Whisper White card, and I'm going to use Sahara Sand, Blushing Bride, So Saffron and Seaside Spray ink. My first seashell will be stamped using Sahara Sand ink, and I'm going to stamp this towards the bottom left of the panel. Now I want to mask this off so it looks like it's in front of the remaining shells. I've already created my mask, and this is where I store them inside my stamp cases. The masks are reusable, so you don't have to recreate them each time. So I'm going to cover my stamped image, and all I did to create this was stamp on some masking paper and cut it out. Now I'm going to take one of the larger shells and So Saffron ink, and I'm going to stamp this in the bottom left corner. Next, one of the smaller stamps and Blushing Bride ink. So that mask protects the image underneath. Then I've got the very small shell, and I'm using So Saffron ink. And just continuing with my little collage here of seashells. And then finally I'm going to use the Starfish and Seaside Spray ink. Lastly, I'm going to use the little speckle stamp and Sahara Sand ink again, just to randomly stamp a little bit over the images. And I will remove the mask and just do another little stamp over the top of that shell. My card base is in Seaside Spray, and this is half a standard sheet of card scored in the middle and folded to create a portrait card. Then I have my panel for the inside. I have some of the Sand and Sea Designer Series paper, and I'm going to add my beautiful shell panel onto this. Then I have a length of linen thread, and I'm going to wrap this around my card twice and tie a bow. And then I have my little sentiment panel, and I've gone ahead and added dimensionals to the back. And that's it. That's my card complete. Here's another quick look at my original card. So the main difference here is the colouring on the shells. So on my new card I kept it to a single colour, but on the previous card I mixed the colours. And then this is my first card that I made. Now this was coloured differently. I coloured the shells this time with the actual stamp set. So you die cut the panel and then you stamp the shells, and there's 5 shells that match the panel exactly. And then I ran the panel through with the Seashells 3D embossing folder, and you still get this beautiful embossing. Now the seaweed was coloured differently this time. I used one of our new water painters and the lid of the Pear Pizzazz ink pad to colour all the seaweed. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this project. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notifications bell so you don't miss out on any future videos. Bye for now.